Hi, I'm Jillian Balo, Wyoming State Superintendent of Public Instruction. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person today. I was looking forward to the discussion and the opportunity to learn from each and every one of you. I am the co-chair of the Wyoming Women's Antelope Hunt, and while we wavered a lot on having an in-person event or a virtual event, we opted for an in-person event, and I am at that event this weekend, raising money for Wyoming women who live near the poverty line and have trouble with self-sufficiency. So again, I'm sorry that I can't be with you in person. I want to thank Dr. Peoples for reaching out with the invitation to attend today's event. And I also want to thank Rita Watson, who is the executive assistant at the Wyoming Department of Education, where I work. And I appreciate Dr. Peoples and Rita Watson's advocacy for this event and their continued dialogue and communication about it. So I think one of the most important voices in the room is not mine today and not any other speaker. It's your voice. I was really, like I said, looking forward to learning from each and every one of you. That said, more important than the words that I have to share and more important than the information that I give you is the information that you take away and the questions that you continue to ask and the dialogue that you continue even beyond today. I want to first just talk a little bit about standards and curriculum. I like to run in my spare time. I'm very slow and I'm getting older, but I do enjoy running. And I've run some 5Ks, 10Ks in my life, and I'm always looking for that marker during the race, 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles. And that's on race day. I don't pay so much attention to that when I'm training. That's the difference between standards and assessment. The standards are the race, the mile markers. What should we know in kindergarten, first grade, 8th grade, 12th grade, and by graduation? Curriculum, on the other hand, is sort of the training regimen to get there. So it might be what issues are discussed in school, what resources or teaching materials or textbooks are used in school, what order are our topics taught in. And that's the difference between standards and curriculum. Standards are determined at the state level by ultimately approved by the State Board of Education, but really developed by teachers and parents and business people from across the state. Curriculum, on the other hand, is selected at the local level by the school board. So if you want to impact the standards work, please make sure that you're watching for announcements at the state level about the standards work that we're doing and request or fill out an application to be part of a standards committee. If you want to be part of the curriculum choices, what's actually taught in the classroom, make sure that you're paying attention to when your school board chooses new curricular materials. And you can be part of that decision through meetings and through reaching out to your local representatives on the school board. Now, the next thing that I think you might be interested in, but at the very least that might spur more conversations or more questions for you, is how do we think about getting African American or Black history, especially as it relates to Wyoming, in our classrooms to a greater degree? And I know some of you have asked me the question, okay, so Indian Education for All was put in the social studies standards a few years ago. Can we do the same thing with Black history or Black issues? And the answer is yes, but there's a process for that. The process could be legislative, like it was for Indian Education for All, or it could be through the State Board of Education. Either one of those are pathways to get that work accomplished. And if you're interested in that, I would certainly suggest that you go both routes. Give a presentation to the State Board of Education, and also reach out to your legislator or an area legislator who might be interested in the matter, and start having the conversation, the discussion. Start thinking as a group, as a community, what is important for all Wyoming students to know about Black history, Black politics, and especially as it relates to Wyoming as a state. I think that we have some amazing leaders from the Black community right there in that room today, and if not there today, maybe listening virtually to this meeting or taking part in discussions afterwards. So the Indian Education for All was something that didn't just happen over a course of a couple of months or a legislative session. It's something that happened over a course of years. In fact, starting 10 years ago, maybe, was the first time that I started hearing about it. When I became state superintendent, that's when I really started to work with our Native American tribes and try to give them some advice on talking with legislators and the State Board of Education on how to sort of, what we say, get that over the finish line or get it into statute. I'm happy to have some of those same conversations with you one-on-one, and I'd really, again, like to learn what it is that you think that Wyoming students should know and be able to demonstrate about Black history, Black politics, Black issues, and Black Wyomingites. So that said, I do think that it's important for you to continue having those discussions, and I think your voice in the process is the most important. There's no way that I could have advocated, for example, Indian Education for All by myself and gotten it passed into law. It was the voice of the Native Americans across Wyoming who got that across the finish line. And so I would encourage you to think about your own voice that you have to share and how you want to share that. And again, I'm happy to have follow-up conversations about that. The last issue that I think you may have questions about is COVID-19 and some of the issues and requirements around COVID-19. And much like standards and curriculum, there are decisions that are made at the state level and decisions that are made at the local level. So let me first just say that there are health orders that are put forth by the state health officer, Dr. Alexia Harris, and supported by the governor's office that align with the Center for Disease Control guidelines for the most part, but also take into account what's happening in Wyoming. In particular, there are requirements for schools and education institutions, and they address such things as mask wearing, capacity in school buildings and in classrooms, physical distancing, etc. Those are updated periodically, and believe it or not, even though it's government, they're pretty easy to read and they're pretty easy to find on the governor's website. I would suggest that you take a look at those as they are updated a lot. And we require all schools across Wyoming to, at the very least, follow those state health orders. Then at the local level, there can be additional measures put in to ensure student and staff and community health and safety. And typically those align with whatever data, whatever health issues are happening in the community. So for example, in Laramie County, students have their temperatures taken at school. And this is not a state mandate or in the state health orders, but it is a requirement that that the Laramie County School District number 1 Board of Trustees has decided is really important. So they've put that into place. As health orders change, we may likely see changes at the local level. There are also some exceptions where the health data just doesn't support going to school in person, for example, right now. That would include areas on the Wind River Reservation and some of our tourist towns. And they're doing what's called hybrid learning or tier 3 learning, where their students are learning online. Certainly that's not ideal, but we've asked every single school across the state to be prepared for that scenario should we have to move to that scenario across the state or community by community. It's my goal, whether we're talking about standards and curriculum or whether we're talking about COVID-19, to make sure that the community voice is the most important voice. So again, I would encourage you to continue this wonderful conversation, continue meeting with these wonderful people in your community, and please feel free to reach out to me anytime. I would just reiterate that one of the most important voices is your informed voice, and there is no more informed voice than that of the community, the people within the community. So I wish you well. I bid you well. I bid you good health. And Dr. Peoples, Rita Watson, I thank you again so much for this opportunity to address this group via video. And again, I'm sorry that I'm not there in person. I hope that it suffices, and I look forward to a follow-up conversation with one or more of you going forward. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.